you know of any resources.
Bias line drainage?
Yeah, but basically starting with a sheet with a hole cut in it,
right,
and put it on and pin, and snip and pin, and snip and pin, and snip and draw your lines, and so on. It's a process, and done right, it can save you an immense amount of grief.
Sure, absolutely. I've never seen anyone teach that except for fashion schools.
YouTube.
YouTube, there you go. YouTube.
I'll have to go look at that.
I do drape on the bias, but
Awesome.
I do drape on the bias, but I have a really bad habit of just laying fabric out on the floor or the table and just having at it. Like I just throw it down and have at it.
Well, when I'm doing suit of armor, I don't have a lot of choice about where I put the
Yeah,
lines.
exactly.
It's not like you let it out, very easy.
If any of you are thinking about learning to sew and you do not sew, Joanne Fabrics has classes. They're affordable. They're quick little classes. You learn how to make a particular item each class. It's not the fastest thing, but it'll get you started. And it'll get you started with the right tools so that you start off not doing the things that I did.
Regarding the Joanne classes, that's how I started
Good
sewing.
idea. Yeah.
After I
Great
got
idea.
frustrated from big purchases not fitting or paying too much for something I didn't like.
Right.
The problem with my Joanne class is that everyone had a different pattern. So if you do go to Joanne's, make sure you're making a pair of pajama pants and that's it.
Right.
Everybody had a different pattern. So the instructor, she would just spread too thin and couldn't teach everyone in our 3 weekends or whatever.
Right, whatever it is. Yeah.
Some of the ones that do the costume, they do personal lessons.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, there was 2 of us, it was $90 a night, and I literally walked in with a picture and said, I want to make this. And it took us 6 months. And yes,
That's an extremely.
I learned how to sew the process. That was her main, yes, finished product, but teaching me how to sew.
You hit the jackpot.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
If you ever get time with someone who is a sewer and especially works with this genre specifically, that time is gold. It is solid gold. Anyone who sculpts, works with plastic, works with leather, any solid gold. And you want to take a moment and just pick their brain, just pick them dry. That's what I do.
Just learning how to do a lot of leather work. All the costumes that I have online involves a lot of leather work. It's hard to find someone.
Something you might want to be aware of.
What'd she get?
Right now, there's so many big companies going out of business that there is
Every day.
an absolute flood of nice commercial sewing machines on Craigslist and so on. And there's nothing worse than being halfway through a project and having the machine go belly up for some reason. And until you learn to sew on a commercial machine, you can't really appreciate the difference. But when you can pick up a nice Singer 241 for $200 delivered, and that's a machine that you will struggle to break, or
I don't know about that.
3115
It's
or
in my house for a couple of weeks.
well, I've got 10 of them now.
I have a
They're
record.
very different models, but why spend the money Joann's wants for one of their fancy plastic machines that's going to break in a month?
It's a waste.
When you can find a really nice machine cheap right now.
One note about sewing machines for you people who sew and you're unsure about machines, make sure you don't have nylon gears. Make sure you do not have plastic gears. All metal, if you can get it. And if you can get a belt-driven motor, even better. Modern machines really don't have those. The electronic machines. Brothers tend to be a little better than Singers. I'm sorry. I've blown up more Singers than I can count. I mean, I think my quickest was like a month.
Well, my 2 main machines are fast, but they're a lot more money still. They were $4,000 and $5,000 new. And I bought an entire drapery business with 4 fasts and a console. Bought the whole business for $2,500. And I sold some of the equipment I didn't need, kept the big fasts. But I still sew more on the Singers than the fasts.
Yeah, I think what I like to do is I keep an electronic that does all the fancy stitches. I keep that for my light fabrics because the motor doesn't have the oomph. I'm always looking to see what kind of horsepower I've got in the motor. And if it's anything under 1, don't even bother. I mean, it's good for light stuff, and it's good for decorative work. I wouldn't call it a heavy workhorse, but I also have a heavy workhorse that we got at yard sale for $10. And it literally does like 2 stitches, and that's it. But it has like a 2-amp motor, so I can drive that thing all day long, and it just goes. It's like a machine. It's like animals.
Some of those great machines from the 50s that
They
are all
are
metal,
great. Those
late
old
40s,
machines are
right
great.
up to the early 60s, that's that space where you want to be.
Yeah.
Keep them oiled and they'll last forever.
Yeah. So back to fabric. I spend a lot of time looking for fabric. I've probably spent 5 years currying the relationships that I currently have with fabric suppliers. There are some really great ones out there that you may not know about. Vogue is awesome. It's a website. Vogue is, they sort of buy up odd lots of fabric. They tend to have the unusual stuff, which is what I like to work with. There's of course Mood, but I don't buy a lot from them because they're pretty high priced. LA Silks and Woolens, I'm sure you guys have all heard of them. They have tons and tons and tons of stuff, and they'll send you free samples. Like if you call them up and you say, I need some blue wool, they'll send you like 10 different types of blue wool. Also, living in Florida, remember, we had this issue with heat and sweating. If you have a synthetic fabric that has anything in it that doesn't respond well to heat and or sweat, like dye, just be careful and be wary of that. I don't think people in other areas of the world deal with it quite as much as we do. But we get crazy. We go outside, we have this big heavy costume on, like 4 layers, and we're crazy, and we do it. That's Florida. So.
I got a set of deerskin motorcycle gloves that are great when I use them during the wintertime, and they're nice and warm, but every time I take them off my hands are black.
Nice.
Just the ink just keeps bleeding off on
Just
them for
keeps
2
bleeding
years.
out. Back to leather. I've been working with leather now for about 2 years, and Tandy Leather is here today. You guys probably saw him, Tony from Tandy. I brought him with me from Tampa because he is my guru of all things leather. This man can teach you how to make anything, and it's not as hard as you would think. It really isn't. I started making belts. I never made a belt before in my life, and he's like, it's so easy, let me show you. One thing I want to talk about a belt here. I love how you just strip. Do you have your Star Wars underwear on today?
Underbird.
No, it's Commando today.
Commando today, okay. One thing I want you to notice about my belt, you notice that the inside of the belt is not dyed. A lot of commercially produced belts are drum dyed.
No.
So they just throw it into a big vat full of color. The problem with that is unless you seal the surface with a special product, that dye is going to go somewhere. It is not going to be pretty. Unless you've got, like in this case, he's a black uniform, it probably wouldn't have mattered. But Tony has helped me a lot with this stuff. If you have any interest in leather in terms of costuming, and let me tell you, leather is like the best stuff to costume. It's so easy to care for. It really is. You just give it a little wipe off with moist cloth, maybe some conditioning once a year, a little moisture. It's fine. It will last you forever, especially belts. Belts are great. I mean, I think we've gotten so used to buying mass-produced Chinese clothing, belts, just stuff that's not great quality. It's half blue, it's a little plastic. We've forgotten what it's like to have a really, really nice quality item in our closet. And I'm really beginning to appreciate leather more for that reason, I think. So, and I think this year I'm going to really focus on nothing but really high quality pieces, not just in my costuming world, but also in my clothing. Because we've kind of gotten away from that standard a little bit, I think. Would you like to put your belt back on, or do you want to stay naked?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. I also like working with metal. I started working with metal this year too, which I really have been enjoying also. It's not as hard as I would thought it would be. Like I do these belts and I do this brushed finish on the belt. This is so simple to do by hand. If you have any sort of aluminum, of course you don't want something galvanized, obviously, because it's not going to give you this nice clean look. Sandpaper is your friend. Just have at it. I made a belt buckle with swirls on it. I just took like a 50 grit and just did like small swirls. It came out so neat. You put a little clear coat on there, crafters with clear coat. You're all done. You've got a unique item. Here you go. I'll let you get dressed again.
Thank you.
You like taking clothes off. Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, how about some, let's talk about the RPF. You guys know what